Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I am Muhammad Abu Bakr, and in this video we shall be solving the Cambridge O-Level Physics 5054 question paper 11 from the from the October-November 2021 series, paper 1 of multiple choice questions only. So let's start our video. Which quantity is a vector? What is a vector? A vector is a physical quantity that requires direction as well as magnitude and units. Speed does not require a direction. Force requires a direction. Yes. So B is true. Mass does not require a direction, and distance does not require a direction as well. Displacement does. But in this case, only force is a vector. So B is the right answer. Two forces X and Y act upon an object O. The arrows represent the magnitude and direction of the forces. So, which arrow shows the direction of the resultant force? As you can see in this diagram, the angle here is greater than 90. So, I'll construct a parallelogram here. I'll construct a parallelogram here, and that's it. That's our parallelogram. So, in this parallelogram, the resultant force should act from, suppose this is point Z, from O to Z. The resultant force would be O to Z. So A would be the direction of the resultant force. So A is the right answer. So question number 3. Two identical objects begin to fall from rest. One object falls from 200 meters above the Earth's surface, and other object falls from 200 meters above the moon's surface. So one is 200 meters above the Earth's surface, and the second one is 200 meters above the moon's surface. 1 second after they have started to fall, both objects are still accelerating. So they have started to move. There is no atmosphere on the moon, and the weight of each object is constant. So these two objects are of identical weight. Which row describes the motion of both objects at this time? So acceleration of the object falling above the Earth's surface. So in this globe, you can see that this is the land. Suppose this is the land here. So the air density is lower as we go upwards, and air density is the greatest as we go lower in the atmosphere. The Earth has an atmosphere, and due to the air resistance, the acceleration would be maximum at, suppose this is 200 meters. Acceleration would be maximum at 200 meters, but as soon as it starts to reach, as it starts to hit the, as it starts to get close to the Earth's surface, its acceleration would decrease because the air resistance plays a huge role here in slowing this object. So A, the acceleration of the object falling above the Earth's surface would decrease, whereas there is no atmosphere on the moon. No atmosphere means no air resistance. So the acceleration of the moon is 1.62 ms meters per second square. So the acceleration on the moon would be constant. So A is the right answer. The diagram shows a car going around a circular track at a constant speed. Which arrows show the direction of the resultant force on the car? So this car is moving in a circular track. It is moving in a circular track, and in a circular track, we know that the resultant force is always towards the center of this track, and this force is called the centripetal force, FC. So D is the right answer. An electron has mass. Where does a stationary electron experience a force? So this electron has a mass, and so first of all, it has mass. Where does a stationary electron experience a force? So if it has a mass, it would have gravitational field definitely. So gravitational field is common, and it is an electron, so it will also have an electric field around it. It will also have an electric field. But will it have a magnetic field? No, it will not have a magnetic field because it is not moving. It is stationary electron. So only the gravitational field and electric field would be exerted by this electron. So C is the right answer. A stone is placed in a measuring cylinder of water as shown. So the volume of the water in the cylinder before adding the stone is 15 centimeter cube. So before the stone is added, the volume of cylinder is 15 centimeter cube, and the stone has a mass of 90 grams. What is the density of the stone? So density is equal to mass per unit volume. The rise in volume here is the volume of the water in the cylinder before adding the stone is 15 centimeter cube, and now it has reached 75 centimeter cube. So it has a volume of 60 centimeter cube. This stone has a volume of 60 centimeter cube. So whereas the mass of this stone is 90 grams, so simply I will divide 90 by 60, so that is 1.5 grams per centimeter cube, the density of this stone. So C is the right answer. The extension of a spring is measured for various loads. The limit of proportionality is not reached. The limit of proportionality is not reached. Now, which graph shows the extension load graph for the spring? So, first thing is that the limit of proportionality is not reached. So, C is incorrect because this C shows the limit of proportionality like somewhere here or somewhere here. C is incorrect, and similarly, D is also incorrect because this is not a straight line graph, and then it should had a curve if there was a limit of proportionality. So C, D are incorrect. Whereas the extension of a spring is directly proportional to the load. We know this. So it should be a straight line graph going upwards, like as shown in B, not as in A. A shows an inverse relation, whereas B shows a direct relation until the limit of proportionality is reached. So B is the right answer. An underwater diver moves from ocean to a freshwater lake. The density of the water in the lake is less than in the ocean. So density is lower in the lake and density is greater in the ocean. In which position does the diver experience the smallest pressure due to the water? So the atmospheric pressure, we do not have to take the atmospheric pressure into account. We only have to find the pressure due to the water here. So the first thing is that this lake has lower density, and for pressure in liquids we have formula: pressure is equal to rho times gravity times h. The gravity is constant and the density is lower in lake. So A and B are incorrect because oceans have greater density, means greater pressure. We have to find the smallest pressure. Now, and then we have rho g and change in height. In D, you can see that there is a greater change in height, whereas in C there is a very slow or very low height change. So I would go with C because C has the lowest height. G is constant and lowest rho. That means lowest pressure. So C is the right option. Air is trapped in a cylinder by a piston. The pressure of the air is P and the length of the air column is 20 centimeters. The piston is moved outwards. The length of the air column increases by 40 centimeters. The temperature of the air remains constant. So what is the new air pressure? So the air is trapped in a cylinder by a piston. So the pressure of the air is P and the length of the air column is 20 centimeter cube. So initially the pressure was force I think is constant here. The pressure was 20. Now the pressure is 20 plus 40, that is 60 centimeter cube. Yes, 60 centimeter cube here. So what is the new air pressure? We know that pressure is inversely proportional to area. Now the area is being increased, so the pressure would decrease. So D and C would be incorrect. And 20 is 3 times 60. So the pressure would decrease by 3 times. Means what? B is the right option. When the pressure exerted by the atmosphere is 0.10 megapascal and the height of the mercury is in a barometer is 0.76 meters, what is the pressure exerted by the atmosphere when the height of the mercury in simple barometer is 0.57 meter? So when the pressure of atmosphere is 0.10 megapascal, then the pressure exerted, then the height of the column is 0.76. So when the height reaches to 0.57, what will be the pressure in megapascal? So that is simply cross multiplication here. So 0.57 into 0.1, that is 0.057 into 0.7, multiply this question mark which we have to find. So easily dividing this by 0.76. So I am putting this into the calculator. 0.057 divided by 0.776. So that is 0.075 megapascal. So B is your right answer. The diagram shows a mass of a block pulled in a straight line along the horizontal surface by a force F. The block moves a distance d in time t. The average speed at which the block moves is v. So, okay, which two quantities must be known to calculate the work done? Now, mm, what is work? Work is force times displacement in the direction of the force. So force is acting in this direction and it moves a distance d. It moves a distance d in this direction. It will be simply F into D. So A is your right answer. The diagram shows the inside of a refrigerator. When the refrigerator is first switched on, what happens to the air near the cooling agent or near the cooling unit? So in this diagram we can see the refrigerator is first switched on. So suppose this refrigerator is closed here, not this is not an open here. Some of you might comprehend that this he has opened the gate of the opened the door of the refrigerator. This is the door is closed. He has just shown the schematic diagram here for easy understanding. So the molecules of this air, now this refrigerator, suppose it is brand new, so air here is at RTP, room temperature and pressure, and this cooling unit provides cool air, or it decreases temperature. In easy words, it decreases the temperature of the gas of the refrigerator. So by Charles' law, we know that V is directly proportional to T. So as T decreases, the volume will decrease. What does this mean? The particles move closer together. And from Boyle's law, we know that pressure is inversely proportional to volume, uh, and density is rho is equal to mv. So lower is the density, greater would be lower is the volume, greater would be the density. So density increases and the particles move closer together. So D is the right answer. Less thermal energy is needed to raise the temperature of 1 kg of copper by 1 degree C than is needed to raise the temperature of 1 kg of water by 1 degree C. Which statement explains this? Copper has a high melting point. No, this cannot be inferred from this graph, or from these lines. Copper has a lower specific heat capacity. So what is specific heat capacity? It is the amount of thermal energy needed to raise the temperature of 1 kg of a specific substance by 1 degree C by 1 Kelvin. So copper has a lower specific heat capacity, whereas water has of 4200 joules per kilogram Kelvin. So yes, copper has a lower specific heat capacity. Copper has a smaller specific latent heat. It is not melting, so C is incorrect. Copper is a better conductor of thermal energy, so less thermal energy is needed. No conductance cannot be again measured from these lines. So B is true. B is the right answer. The graph is the temperature time graph for the sample of wax that is heated so it starts to melt. So the mass of the wax is 200 grams. Thermal energy supplied to the wax is at a constant rate of 12,000 joules per minute. So what is the specific latent heat of fusion of this wax? So as we can see here, this is a wax. This is the 200 grams of wax. So the temperature rises here, and then in this during this time, the wax starts to melt, and then this wax will start to, so that it is heated so that it melts. So we have to find the time at which it has melted completely so that it exists as solid and liquid in this here, and then if we further increase the temperature, the wax boils. Okay, so during this 3 to 7 minutes, the wax starts to melt, and after 7 it exists in solid and liquid state. So there are total of 4 minutes during which the wax starts to melt. So what is the specific latent heat of fusion of the wax? So for latent heat of fusion we have HF is equal to QF over mass. So now I have the mass here 200, but we have to find the energy provided. 12,000 joules is provided per minute, so I will simply multiply it by 4 to get 48,000 here. So 2 over 4, 480, that is 240 joules per gram. So B is your right answer. A fixed amount of gas is trapped inside a metal can. The temperature of the gas decreases but the volume does not change. How does this affect the kinetic energy and the pressure inside the metal can? So as the temperature is decreased, the kinetic energy will also decrease. Kinetic energy is directly proportional to temperature of a solid of a metal can. So kinetic energy would decrease here, and temperature decreases means the temperature of the gas decreases, and the pressure inside the metal can, the pressure exerted on this metal can, on the side of the metal can, pressure would also decrease. Why this will decrease? Because the kinetic energy decreases and the amount of collisions at the walls of this metal can would also decrease. So lower pressure is exerted on the walls of this metal can. So A is your right answer. The diagram shows a room temperature liquid in a beaker. What reduces the rate of loss by evaporation? So blowing air across the top of the beaker will allow the molecules to escape faster. So A is incorrect. Heating the liquid will provide sufficient energy to break the intermolecular forces of the water. Putting a lid on the beaker would not allow the water molecules to pass out. So C is true. Transferring the liquid to a beaker with larger diameter means greater surface area, the greater evaporation. So C is true. C is your right answer. A water wave on a pond passes into a region where the wave travels more slowly. It then returns to a region where it travels at the original speed. Assume that the frequency of the wave stays constant. Which side view of the wave is correct? So a water wave on a pond passes into a region where the wave travels more slowly. So the wave starts to travel more slowly. So D is incorrect because D shows that uh, velocity increases. So D is incorrect. In C, there is not any change in D again. The wave is was first traveling faster, and then he has shown that wave is traveling now even more faster. But actually, the wave travels more slowly. So C is also incorrect, and it then returns to a region where it travels at the original speed. Assume that the frequency of the wave stays constant. Frequency stays constant during this times means that the amplitude will also remain same. In A, the amplitude remains same. In B, the amplitude doesn't remain same. So A is your right answer. The frequency of the wave stays the constant, then returns to a region where it travels at the original speed. Travels at an original speed. So A is your right answer. What is meant by the amplitude of a wave? So I think I should check 17 again for you guys. In C and D, you can see that the wave is traveling at this energy, and then it starts to vibrate like this. It doesn't return to its original speed. So the speed here is not equal to the speed later on. So C, and similarly is the case in D. The speed is not same. C and D are incorrect. In Now it returns to us where it travels at original speed. The frequency of the wave stays constant. So it travels into a region where the wave travels more slowly. In A, the wave speed decreases, whereas in B, the wave speed increases. So A is your right answer. And then question number 18. What is meant by the amplitude of a wave? The distance between the extreme points of a particle's motion. The distance between the no distance between the extreme points. These are two extreme points. This is the equilibrium position. So distance between them is not the amplitude. The maximum distance a particle moves from its equilibrium position. The distance here, this distance, this distance here is the maximum distance the particle moves from its equilibrium position, and this is amplitude. So B is true. The maximum energy carried by a wave, no. The maximum power of a vibrations carrying the wave, no. B is your right answer. The diagram shows one wavefront of a wave as it travels from deep water to shallow water in a ripple tank. So this is deep water, and then it starts to travel to shallow water. What happens as the wavefront moves into a shallower water? So when traveling from deep to shallow, wavelength and speed decrease. The speed of the wavefront increases, no, it decreases, yes. The wavelength remains constant, no, it decreases, it increases, no, it decreases. So B is your right option. A ray of light passes into a glass block. It travels through a glass block and then emerges into the air. Which angle is the angle of refraction at the surface xy? So this is traveling and this emerges from here. So what is the angle of refraction here? The angle of refraction is always concluded. The angle is always touching the normal. The angle of refraction should always be touching the normal. So D here touch the normal and the ray emerges. So D is your right answer. Two rays of light pass through a lens in a region X. So this is the lens here. So which type of lens in region X and which type of image is formed? So type of lens used, it diverges. The both light rays passing through the optical center remains undeviated, whereas this deviates largely from its original path. It doesn't converge, it diverges them. So C and D can be true. Whereas a virtual image is formed here. A virtual image is formed at this point. So D is the right answer. A girl is long sighted. Which statement is correct? She sees close objects less clearly than a person with normal vision. So when a person is long sighted, he is able to see the objects lying far from him clearly, but is not able to distinguish between the objects which lie close to him. So she sees close objects less clearly than a person with normal vision. She sees close objects less clearly. Yes, this is true. A is your right answer. She sees distant objects more clearly than a person with normal vision. No, she sees the distant objects with same clarity as a person with normal vision sees. So B is incorrect. The fault is corrected with a diverging lens. No, it is corrected by converging lens. The image of a close object is formed in front of her retina. It is formed after the retina. So A is the right answer. Light rays are deviated by a prism. So the deviation, so this light ray, it deviates, goes and then deviates. The deviation angle D is measured for light rays of different frequency, including blue light and red light. Which graph of D against frequency is correct? So the deviation angle D is measured for light rays and of different frequency, including blue light and red light. Which graph of D against frequency is correct? So blue light always have a greater frequency. Blue light has greater frequency, whereas red light has lower frequency. Whereas the angle of deviation here is greater for blue light and lower for, oh sorry, the angle of deviation is greater for blue light and lower for red light. So if I use the VIBGYOR, then R is here and B means blue is here, and D has a greater angle of divergence. So it has greater frequency D, blue, as you can see, and it has greater uh, greater angle of divergence as well in comparison to D. So in comparison to red, so D is your right answer. Which component of the electromagnetic spectrum is used for the remote control of a television? Gamma rays, IR rays, radio waves and ultraviolet rays, infrared rays, IR rays are always used for remote control of a television, because gamma rays can be ionizing or non-ionizing. Radio waves have higher speed, so they are not needed. Ultraviolet rays can cause skin cancer, so IR rays are the most safest. So B is your right answer. A student claps a distance x in front of a large wall. He claps his hands at a regular rate so that each clap coincides the echo from the previous clap. So in a time t, he claps his hands n times. So which expression is used to calculate the speed of sound in air? So the distance of the student from the wall is 2x, whereas the stands a distance in front of a large wall, so distance is 2x, whereas the number of claps he has produced, I am indicating number of claps by small n, the number of claps he has produced is t divided by n. N here is the number of claps he has actually done, and t is the time, and this small n is the symbol which represents the total claps he produced during time t. So distance is 2x, so velocity is equal to 2x over t over n. So 2x divided by t over n. So 2x multiply n over t taking reciprocal. So 2nx over t means D is the right answer. An ultrasound scanner produces an image of an unborn baby. So this is the part of scanner. This is the unborn baby. What does the scanner use to form an image of the baby? So the ultrasound absorbed by the body. If the ultrasound are absorbed, they cannot be again detected by the scanner. So A is incorrect. Ultrasound emitted by the baby. The baby does not emit ultrasound. The ultrasound reflected by the baby. Yes, this is true. The ultrasound reflected by the baby at different position helps us check the image of the unborn baby. The ultrasound reflected by the baby. If the ultrasound is refracted, it will go somewhere like this. So it will not work as well. So C is your right answer. Object X is on an electronic balance. Object Y is held above object X as shown. The reading on the balance increases when Y is moved closer to X. Why does this happen? So the force on this electronic balance increases. Force increases. So why does the force increase when Y is brought close to X? The force here on this electronic balance increases because of repulsion. Repulsion takes place here. Both objects, both Y and X repel each other. They repel each other, and that's why X exerts a greater force on the electronic balance, and that's why this value starts to rise. So X and Y are both made of iron, then they would not attract or repel. X and Y are both magnets. So yes, B makes sense. If they both are magnets and we choose their similar poles like south here and south here, then they both would repel. B is true. Y is a magnet and X is made of iron. Here the magnetic induction would take place. So C is incorrect. And Y is made of iron and X is a magnet. Only the magnetic induction would take place. They would not attract or repel. So B is the right answer. A teacher wants to demagnetize a bar magnet and tries three different methods. These are the three methods. Which methods demagnetize the bar magnet? Okay. So heat the bar magnet to a high temperature and let it cool will definitely help the teacher demagnetize it. So one is true. Place the bar magnet east to west and hammer it. Yes, this is true again. Place the bar magnet inside a coil that has direct current in it and remove from the coil slowly. This is true only when there is an AC alternating current used. Here he uses direct current, so 3 is incorrect. Only 1 and 2 are right. So B is the right answer. A piece of paper uh, torn out of an exercise book is shown. What is being defined? This is the work done measured in joules. So work done measured in joules on unit charge measured in coulombs as it moves around the circuit. So the unit is joules, and the on unit charge measured in coulombs. So see here. So joules per coulomb, that is V, that is used for voltage and electromotive force. And electromotive force is the work done by the battery on the unit charge as it moves through the closed circuit. So D is the right answer. Which circuit is connected to measure the current in the fixed resistor and the PD across the same resistor? So C in A, these all are the light dependent resistors. So we have to find the current in the fixed resistor and the PD across the same resistor. So we will connect the ammeter in the series because the current remains same. Whereas we would attach voltmeter, the galvanometer, in the parallel arrangement because the voltage remains same. So A is true. In B, the voltmeter is also connected in the parallel or also connected in series. So B is incorrect. In D, this D is converse of A. This is incorrect. In C, the voltmeter is connected to both the fixed resistor and the light. Oh, so sorry, the thermistor here. So C is also incorrect. Whereas the M meter is connected line nicely. So the voltmeter is wrongly attached here. So only A is true. A is your right answer. The diagram shows a circuit with a 5-volt power supply, 3 resistors, 4 output terminals P, Q, and R as shown. So between which pair of the terminals is there potential difference of 1.5 volts? Now, between which pair of terminals is there potential difference of 1.5 volt? So first of all, we will have to find the amount of current which passes through this circuit. So by V is equal to IR, we should have V over RT is equal to RT over is equal to IRT. Here is the total resistance of these three resistors. So 5 over 5, 3, 8 and 10 is equal to I. So that is 0.5 is equal to the current which flows through each of these resistors and through this circuit. Now I have to find the potential difference of VPQ, so that will be 0.5 into 2, so that is 1 volts. So this is incorrect. V into QR, V into QR, so that will be 0.5 into 5, so that will be 2.5 volts. And then V into RS, so that will be 0.5 into 3 means 1.5 volts. So yes, RS is the pair of terminals which will entail a potential difference PD of 1.5 volt. So D is your right answer. 200-watt lamps are connected in parallel to the main supply. So how much electrical energy is supplied by the mains when the switch is closed for 36 minutes? So there are two lamps of 100 volt each or 100 watts each. So there is the power of 200 watts, whereas the time of utility is 36 minutes, which is equal to 0.6 hours. So first I will have to find the number of, no, I will only have to find a number of units consumed. So the number of units consumed units the number of electrical energy in 1 kilowatt hour. So I will simply multiply 200 with time of use in hours, which is 0.6, and then I would divide it by 1000. So 120 over 1000, that is 0.12 kilowatt hours. So C is the right answer. The cost of electricity is 9 cents per kilowatt hours. It takes 0.060 hours and costs 1.2 cents to boil the water in a kettle. What is the power rating of the kettle? So the cost of electricity is 9 cents. I am ignoring the units here, and I have to find the power rating in watts into the time of use in hours. Time of use in hours into the cost of 1 unit, which is 1.2 cents. Again I am ignoring the units, dividing it by 1000. So it will 1000 multiply 9000 divided by 0.60, and I multiply this by 1.2. So 1.2 times 0.6, that is 0.72, and then dividing the 9000 by, there is being a mistake made here by me, so let me check this once again. The time of use in 1 hours is hour is 0.060. So again 0.060 into 1.2, and I divide 9000 with 0.072. So that gives me 1,25,000 kilowatts. So again there is a mistake here. So mm, so the cost of electricity is 9 cents per kilowatt hour. Oh, okay, now I get this. There's been mistake in putting the values here. The cost of 1 unit was 9 cents, so 9 cents had to be here, and the cost of electricity to boil the water in the kettle for a utility of 0.60 hours, I had to write 1.2 cents here. So sorry for the mistake. And then I again recheck the values. So 1.2 times 1000, and then I multiply 9 with 0.60, which is the time of use in hours. So I will get the watt, the power rating of the kettle. So 1200 over 9 into 0.60 over 5.4, and I divide 1200 with 5.4. So that is, so 0.54, sorry, 0.54, not 5.4. So the value comes is 2.22 kilowatts. So that is C, our right answer. A transformer with an efficiency of 100% has a primary voltage input of 600 volts and a secondary voltage output of 240 watts. The secondary coil is attached to a resistor of resistance 120 ohms. This is the resistor. So what is the power dissipated in the resistor and what is the current in the primary coil? So for transformer, we know that power of primary is equal to the power of secondary. So VIP is equal to Vi of S. So first of all, I will have to find the current in the secondary, and then I will get to find the current in the primary current here. So for current in the secondary, there is a 240 volt AC output and there is a resistance of 120 ohms. So from V is equal to IR, I will derive I. So 240 over 120, that is 2. So 2 amperes is the current passing through the secondary coil. So there is a total current of 2 amperes passing through the secondary coil and the voltage is 240, and the power, the current is 240. The voltage of primary, primary voltage should be, the primary voltage is 600 volts, and I multiply this by something unknown to get the value of uh, current in primary. So simply if I divide 480 over 600, I will get this question mark, which is the current in primary. So for 80 over 600, that is 0.80 is the current in primary. The current in primary is 0.80, and then what is the current, what is the power dissipated in the resistor? So the power 600, so there is total 480 here, and 600 times 0.80, so 480 here. So 480 is the power. So C is the right answer. The diagram shows an alarm system in which the switch S is shown closed. The top circuit is arranged so that the electromagnet is positioned over the soft iron contact. What happens when the switch S is opened? When this switch S is uh, when this switch S is closed, this iron contact attaches with this electromagnetic, and this doesn't allow the C to the circuit to connect, and the bell won't ring. But when the switch S is opened, it is in this state, it is opened, the electromagnetic will not any further repel this iron contact, and this iron contact would drop. It would drop, it would not move up, and as soon as it drops and it makes the contact with this metal, the circuit 2 opens now. The circuit 2 closes now. Sorry, it closes now, and this will allow the bell to ring. So A is the right option. A microphone detects a visual sound and a signal is fed into an oscilloscope. The diagram shows the trace which appears on the screen. The spot of the light on oscilloscope screen takes 1.2 meters per second to meters second to travel across the screen. What is the frequency? 1.2 milliseconds, sorry, milliseconds. So to travel across the screen, what is the frequency of the musical sound? So first of all, the time period here is 1.2 millisecond. Time period is 1.2 milliseconds. So that is, and there are total number of vibrations is 2. So the time period for 1 tt means total, and t1 mean for single. So for t1, the spot of light on oscilloscope screen takes 1.2 milliseconds. So for single time period, it will take simply 1.2 divided by 2, so that is 0.6 millisecond. And milli is 0.6 into 10 raised to power minus 3 seconds. So that is the time for single frequency, time period for single vibration. So and frequency is inverse of the time period. So for single time period for a single wave, we have 0.6 into 10 raised to power negative 3, and I put this into the calculator. So 1 divided by 0.6 into 10 raised to power minus 3, so that is frequency is something like 1666, and then there are many sixes. So that is approximately 1700 hertz. So C is the right answer. A student connects two components whose resistance can change and a fixed resistor across a 6-volt supply. Under which conditions is the voltage across the fixed resistor the greatest? So this is the LDR, and this is the thermistor here, and this is the FR, the fixed resistor. Now I have to maximize the voltage here, and voltage is inversely proportional to resistance, means I have to lower the resistance as much as I can so the voltage becomes greatest. So mm, if I check for an LDR, for an LDR, resistance is inversely proportional to Li. Li means light intensity. So if I have to lower the light intensity, or so lower the resistance, sorry, then I will have to maximize the light intensity. So I will have to take bright conditions. So for LDR, we have to take higher light intensity, brighter light. For a thermistor again, uh, the resistance of a thermistor is inversely dependent on the temperature. So for lowering the resistance, we will have to increase the increase the temperature here. So I will take warm conditions. So D is my right option. Technetium 99M is a radioactive isotope used in medical scanning engineering. It is injected into the body, and its emissions are detected outside the body. Mm, which characteristics of technetium 99M make it suitable for use in medical scanning? It has a long half-life and emits alpha radiation. So alpha radiation are charged. They are positive. They are helium nuclei. So it should not emit alpha radiations because it will not help us in scanning the object. Whereas gamma radiation, they are neutral. Gamma radiation are neutral, so they will help definitely in medical scanning. Whereas there should be a short half-life so that the complete sample disintegrates the most quickly. It should not have a long half-life because it will take years and years for technetium 99 to disintegrate to completely end. So it should definitely have a short half-life and it should emit gamma radiations because they are neutral. We cannot use the gamma alpha beta. We cannot use what are the third is alpha beta. I think the beta radiations, but alpha radiation are charged, so they are not suitable for use in medical scanning. So D is the right answer. Wade's statement about the production of electricity in a nuclear power station is correct. In the reactor, the main reaction occurs when protons hit uranium nuclei. In the reactor, the main reaction occurs when the protons hit uh, uranium nuclei. So I'm not sure about this. The process taking place in the reactor is called nuclear fusion. No, it is nuclear fission. Remember this. In the nuclear power stations, always the nuclear fission take place. Nuclear fusion can't take place or is not conducted in the nuclear power stations. So B is incorrect. Whereas if the reactor produces energy to boil water and to produce steam, so this makes sense. This is true. So C is true. Whereas for A, the main reaction occurs when a single neutron hit uranium nuclei. One single neutron hit uranium nuclei, the reaction will proceed. So it will give us many products like barium plus krypton plus three neutron along with energy. So the main reaction occurs when proton hit uranium nuclei. So the reactor produces energy to boil water and to produce steam. This is true. This is definitely true. The steam produced then helps us in manufacturing electricity. The carbon dioxide is the major waste product from the reactor. Now, carbon dioxide is not a waste product in a nuclear power station. So D is incorrect, A is incorrect, B is incorrect, C is true, C is the right answer. In the simple model of an atom, X orbits around Y. What are X and Y? So X are moving in circular tracks around Y. They are moving in certain energy levels. So they are electrons. They are not neutrons. They are not nucleus. They are protons. So A is true. Whereas Y is the nucleus. This Y nucleus is present in the center of this circular shell, and nucleus consists of then protons and then of neutrons, but they has shown a single circle here, means this is the nucleus. So A is the right answer. So that's all for our today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe and press the bell icon for upcoming videos and past papers. Goodbye and good night. Allah Hafiz.